Hello and welcome to this video on designing energy efficient buildings. In this video you will learn about the procedure strategy for designing an energy efficient building. We call it the three-step strategy and it follows closely the structure of the energy chain. The energy chain provides structure to find out on which part of the system to act on from the viewpoint of technology. And it also tells us something about the actors involved. The relationship between the energy chain and environmental impacts like resource depletion and various emissions like CO2 emissions is pictured on the above part of the figure, which shows the environmental impacts at the supply side of the chain rather than the demand side of the chain. However, reducing the energy demand will of course result in a reduction of primary energy demand and of course the related environmental impacts. The three-step strategy is a design strategy that helps to make a building sustainable. It has, as the name suggests, 3 steps and can be applied to energy but also to material flows. The 3 steps the strategy consists of are reducing the need for resources, using infinite or renewable resources, and finally, using fossil fuel sources as efficiently as possible and only if they're really needed. So, let's discuss the steps. First, we want to reduce the need for resources. The energy need in a building is the energy that is needed to provide a comfortable climate. For example, for space heating or cooling, hot tap water, lighting, pumping water and to power appliances. You can reduce the needs by choosing a suitable orientation or changing the compactness of the building, and so on. To further reduce energy needs, it is important to mention that you can also reuse energy that is already in the building. This is the blue line in this figure. This way, you prevent the use of new resources. Heat recovery in showers and ventilation systems are examples of reusing energy within the building. Also, accumulating solar energy in walls, the so-called trompe walls, is also a way to reduce the energy needs. Some additional examples of ways to reduce the energy needs in a building. We can increase the insulation rate to prevent heat or cold escaping the building by transmission. We can also use solar blinds, see the picture in the middle, to prevent solar radiation heating up the building in order to reduce cooling needs. Besides reducing energy needs, it is important to mention that you can also reuse energy that's already in the building to reduce the needs for resources. See the picture below. This picture shows a schematic overview of a balanced ventilation system that makes use of a heat recovery system. It takes heat from the warm inside air to preheat cold outdoor air supplied into the building. The second step is to use infinite or renewable resources. If you reduce the energy needs as much as possible and there's still an energy demand in the building, you should cover the energy needs by using renewable or infinite resources. This will prevent energy resource depletion as much as possible. Examples of infinite or renewable resources are wind or the sun, as you can see in the pictures. But also geothermal or hydrogen. Hydrogen should then produce in a sustainable way, for example by wind farms. Which sources you will choose obviously depend on whether you need electricity, heat or cold, and the local availability. Don't forget that renewable sources are often intermittent, like the sun, making energy storage very important. Additionally, the reuse of energy wasted by other buildings or by the industry can also be seen as a sustainable option. Think for instance of using the heat produced by data centers to heat houses. Because the sun and the wind are not always available, there are moments when they cannot cover the energy needs. And because energy storage possibilities are still limited, the last step in the three-step strategy is to use fossil fuels. Of course, the long-term aim is to get completely rid of them. but as long as we can't, we should use them parsimoniously and in the most efficient possible way. What do we mean by this? Let's take an example of a gas boiler. Even if this is a very efficient one, the so-called condensing boiler, using it for space heating, cannot be called a parsimonious or efficient. On the contrary, using the gas boiler as an auxiliary boiler coupled to a heat pump can be considered parsimonious. The boiler will be used only in a few hours a day, when it's really too cold for the heat pump to function. Another possibility is to use a boiler designed as a small heat and power unit, meaning that with the same quantity of gas it will produce not only heat but also electricity. In summary, this video we showed you 3-step strategy, which is a method that can help you to reduce the energy demand in buildings in an effective manner. The first step is to reduce the need and reducing waste flows inside the house or building. The second step focuses the use of infinite or renewable resources, which also include the reuse of waste heat from another building and the industry. And finally, the third step, if there are no other possibilities, you can use fossil fuels on the most efficient way possible.